Through a series of convoluted connections, I can link the Patagonian Railway, or really any Welsh narrow gauge railway, to Team Fortress 2. And the clue lies not with the 2007 video game's sole UK character, the Demo Man, but with a recently added map, Patagonia. What is a Patagonia? Patagonia is a large region in the south of Argentina. Neither pure sandy plain nor grassland, the rocky landscape lies in the shadow of the Andes, and the communities are relatively few and far between. Agriculture and the keeping of livestock was, therefore, common throughout the region. In 1908, the Argentinian government wished to open up and connect these 100-odd wayside settlements through a railway. And although the idea had great ambitions, it wouldn't be until 1922 before the track and rolling stock had been manufactured. When the line then also had to be built, construction was slow and, most importantly, costly. So in a time where most of the world was consolidating their railway systems, the Patagonian system opened up in 1946. Trains had, however, already commenced running in 1935. Connecting Buenos Aires, Bariloche and Esquel, mostly following the coast, the line was 402 kilometers long and known as La Trochita, or the little gauge, owing to the gauge of 75 centimeters. La Trochita had 81 locomotives. Most were 282s, 25 of which were classic Baldwin designed double framers, whilst 50 more conventional machines were built by Henschel & Sohn. These were classified 75B and 75H respectively, and both were all-fired. Henschel also delivered 4 060 shunting locomotives and 2 crane locomotives. A large amount of freight traffic on La Trochita was cattle, and special cattle wagons had been built in their dozens. Indeed, the railway carried just freight at first, passenger operation commencing in 1950, to the great benefit of the province of Chubut. The inclines and small drivers of the 282s combined to create a very slow average surface train. Over the long-distance journeys, first and second class carriages had to be accompanied by a kitchen car to prevent passengers from becoming ex-passengers. When the line opened, 6 trains a day ran their way back and forth along the single-track line. Trains have always been a big aspect of Team Fortress 2's aesthetic, as a spy thriller-influenced shooter game initially set in 1968. One of its most popular game modes actually sees players either escort or halt a narrow-gauge wagon through a map, which is what gamers call any given location in their game of choice. At launch, Team Fortress 2 had 7 maps. 2 of these, Capture the Flag 2 Fort and Capture Points Well, feature a train. In fact, the defining feature of CP Well is a stage hazard in the form of a train running through the central maintenance shed. When the 2024 Christmas update for Team Fortress 2 launched, it featured a community-created map inspired by the boreal forested regions of Patagonia. Much like CP Well, the new map, Payload Patagonia, uses a train as a stage hazard. Being hit by the train means a one-way ticket to the respawn room. The locomotive heading the train is clearly directly based on the 75H class, the main difference being that the train found in the TF2 map is supposed to be standard gauge. Now, how could I connect TF2 to the Patagonian Railway? Well, in the 1860s, a great number of Welsh communities were dying out. Industrialisation and the coming of the railways meant that even country folk could work in the city, meaning for a lot of Welsh people, new prospects opened up. Afraid to lose their identity to the blighted English, many Welsh inhabitants sought their future across the Atlantic. Reverend Michael D. Jones, seen nowadays as a founding father for Welsh nationalism, spurred his communities on to create entire communities where the Welsh could preserve their customs, traditions, and most importantly, their language. And the Argentine government welcomed European foreigners with pretty much open arms. There was 2 main reasons for this. Firstly, and I'm grossly oversimplifying here, if they could get settlers to develop Patagonia, that meant they themselves didn't have to do it. Secondly, making sure settlers settled new communities in sparsely inhabited regions, which were subject to dispute between the Chilean and Argentine government, meant Argentina could stick it to their neighbours. The first Welsh settlers arrived in Patagonia on July 28, 1865. Life for these colonists, as the settlers called themselves, was tough, as it so often is for pioneers. But through eventual cooperation with the indigenous inhabitants, the Welsh could let their little colonies survive, if not thrive. Latfa, or the colony in Welsh, and I'm so sorry if I butchered that, could be regarded as a success considering even in World War II, Allied soldiers were greatly surprised to find Argentinian soldiers fluent in Welsh. Indeed, even in current day there is a yearly spike in visitors from Argentina to the UK come late July. These Welsh descendants come to celebrate their culture in the unique celebration of Eisteddfod. In total, there are 7 Patagonia Welsh settlements, one of which being Esquel, one of the terminus stations for La Trochita. How does this tie in with the Talyllyn Railway? 1865, the year the first Patagonia Welsh set foot in the New World, was also the year the Talyllyn Railway opened. So there was a possibility some people might be aware of the existence of a narrow gauge railway running through the mountains. Furthermore, there was a second great arrival of Welsh to Patagonia, some 460 odd, in 1886, by which point the Talyllyn Railway had gained 2 locomotives, received the royal assent to operate passenger trains, and was already seeing a decline in slate traffic. What makes it a convincing argument, if I do say so myself, is that those 460 odd people brought into Patagonia in 1886 were influenced to make the journey to aid construction on a narrow gauge railway. I find it a hard sell to proclaim the Talyllyn Railway, or indeed most of the now famous Welsh narrow gauge railways, were not a firm concept in the mind of those workers. Because, by that point, wee trains running over rugged terrain was something seen by the whole of the UK as something quintessentially Welsh. And so, through a series of convoluted connections, I managed to link Team Fortress 2 to the Welsh narrow gauge railways. But what of La Trochita herself? Underfunded and loss-making though it was, the line soldiered on into the 1970s. Through waning government support and the rise of the still sparse bus and lorry services, the line's traffic would decline to only a single mixed train a week. When central government chose to close the line in 1992, local governments kept 2 sections open after pressure by the public. Today, 2 sections of La Trochita still see train services hauled by the venerable 282 locomotives, including the original 16 kilometres out of Esquel. La Trochita is a National Historic Monument now. But if you were to tell the Welsh settlers in the 1880s that their communities would one day be served by a railway of national importance, I think they'd struggle to believe you. Although, should you mention that the railway was a narrow gauge one, they might have believed you without a shadow of a doubt. Well, thank you very much for watching, despite the rain that was audible throughout this video. This is one of those videos I just wanted to make after getting to play on that new TF2 map, and then the script just kept ballooning, and ballooning, and ballooning. You know how these things go. Special thanks to Joao Marcos, better known as Hopkins on Steam, who lent me the asset of the 75H used throughout this video. He is one of the creators of the Payload Patagonia map, and without them, I would never have looked into this intriguing bit of Argentine history. And with that, I hope to see you for the next video. Cheerio!